This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 134. And tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hello.
Godra.
Hi.
And Tam.
Yo.
So, we did not record a show during the Thanksgiving weekend, and that was probably the correct idea, because...
It would have just been you and I, Belle, right?
Yeah, like, seriously, it would have just been Tam and me.
Oh, no,
and
I guess Pedro would have been back.
I was back.
Well, yeah, by the time we actually, by the time that time rolled around, you were back. But, originally, early in the evening, we were thinking, oh, it's just going to be, it would just be Tam and I. And that would be a really, not interesting show.
That was Friday, Belle. That was Friday we had the discussion.
I don't know, man. Lots of time has changed.
Then it's probably really good we, skipped that.
Right?
Probably.
No concept of time.
It's been a weird sequence. So Thanksgiving was last week, and then this week I got sick. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what are real days. And, I ended up having to work on Sunday, and they gave me comp time. So I didn't even, have a normal week in that aspect, because, I had half a Wednesday off. So I don't even know what day it is. Is this Saturday? Is this really Saturday? Okay. So yeah, I feel like we might as well just get into the meat and potatoes of the show, because Final Fantasy 15 happened.
Final Fantasy 15.
Totally not announced 10 years ago or anything.
I don't even really know where to start with this one.
I don't either.
So I guess my first thought is this what cultural appropriation feels like?
Probably.
Yes.
Because this sure feels like American culture being appropriated.
Yes.
But I feel like it's awesome. If this is what it feels like, then I don't see any problem with it. Because this is amazing. I think basically someone else's take on the whole Route 66 thing.
It's hilarious.
Yes.
Especially because I live on Route 66. Everything is Route 66 memorabilia around here. So this game feels so at home, and I think honestly a lot of that's why it's been easy for me to ease into this game, because before this launch I largely pre-ordered just because I was hoping it would grab me, just because it's a Final Fantasy game, but I wasn't super excited about it, and I didn't really there was something about Episode Duske, or however you pronounce that name, that I didn't really like that much. So on some level, I wasn't that excited about this. I was, but I wasn't. And I've gone 360 on it, and I love this game. It's great. And I don't know if it was the whole boy band aspect, or the road trip aspect, or I don't know what was the thing that didn't sound like a good idea to me. But yeah, it's totally won me over.
My take on this is this game has worked so hard to sabotage itself in all of its pre-release stuff and the first 30 minutes of the game. It tries to sabotage itself as hard as possible. 'Cause alright, God, I hate Cindy.
Yeah, can we just air this out right away?
Yes.
Man, I hate Cindy so much.
Yeah,
and the worst part about it is that Cindy never goes away. Cindy never stops being an important element, because I keep finding myself in Hammerhead Station, or whatever the hell it's called, and if you gas up there, you're going to get bad things.
I don't gas up there under any circumstances. Although, frankly, the hit pause, hit triangle to skip all of the gassing up scenes, just in general, because they take a little bit longer than I think they really need to, is something I've started doing. But no, okay, you've got a game that is basically the inverse of Final Fantasy X-2. Final Fantasy X-2 was amazing. That game was great.
That is not a popular opinion. although it is one I agree with.
Also about dress up.
Yes.
It's about a lot of things. Mostly it's about the aftermath of Final Fantasy X.
Well,
Also
yeah,
that.
but also fancy outfits.
Yes, although fancy outfits are also the end game of everything now.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, but yes, this game is like the inverse of Final Fantasy X, of 10-2. And like, Square, you knew you were going to get flack for setting up the main party this way. You knew it. You did it for a reason, and the more I play, like, I actually sort of buy their reason.
Yeah, like, I mean, I haven't gotten very far into it, but, like, even just from what I've seen in the early game, I'm starting to buy their reason for doing the party that way. But, like, you're right, you knew this.
You knew this.
Why did you also have Cindy?
Yes. And, like, and it's only Cindy. It's only Cindy. Like, every other female character is interesting and not ridiculous.
Well, and honestly, Cindy isn't that bad if you just listen to Cindy without looking at her. Like, had they put Cindy in, like, an appropriate jumpsuit, like, that had grease on it and all, to fit her actual character, it would have been great.
Zero problems there.
Like, it would have been great. Like, she's Sid's daughter, and she's a grease monkey, and awesome.
Yeah.
There are some other ridiculous female outfits, like in one of the cities there are women who are wearing like bikinis and then like crotchless leggings.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
You're talking about the women with the shiny pants?
Yes.
Have you walked around downtown Seattle?
Yes, that's not something I've ever seen.
Okay. You should do it in the summer. Like, so what the game doesn't sell super well is the temperatures in the places. I mean, I guess like LA, SoCal would be a better example. But like people totally dress that way normally. Like that's a common sight in cities in hot places. I don't actually have a problem with that outfit.
I have to say Cindy doesn't actually bother me that much. Possibly because she reminds me of Dolly Parton.
She's definitely a call to Dolly Parton.
That was sort of a thing when I was spending summers in Knoxville, because I think she was either from around there or she's just really big there.
Yeah.
Dolly World.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I like her outfit is ridiculous. It's silly. And like I don't even care that like people can dress that way. Like people are entitled to dress that way, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but it is not appropriate for her actual job in the game. It doesn't make any sense. And like more than the outfit itself bothers me, it's the fact that every time you gas up, she basically washes your windshield with her breasts, and that is not okay. So there is a line that has been thoroughly crossed with Cindy.
I sort of see what they're trying to do, but like, I feel like if this is the we toned Cindy back, they needed to go a bit further. Because in general, I sort of agree with Ash. Like, I see the character that they're trying to emulate there. It's just not super well placed.
No, it's still gross.
Well, it's the impracticality that really bugs me the most. Is like she has a tool pouch lashed to her leg because there's nowhere else to put it. Like it's literally just kind of lashed roughly to her leg.
Well, and context is important. Like if Cindy were the newscaster, like the local newscaster that I was hearing all the time, and was like a media personality who I had continual run-ins with, who also like because she's a small town newscaster, like fixed all her own stuff, hence the like semi grease monkey thing going on. Like I actually think she would bother me a lot less, just because contextually it would make somewhat more sense. But it's the mechanic thing. I don't know. Anyway,
so I feel like we could sit on here and say all the bad things about Cindy all evening, but
and this is the thing that like I knew this was coming. I knew it was gonna make me really mad. And the question in my brain was basically like between that and the you only get the boy band, you don't get playable female characters. Like, is that going to be enough to just make me hate this game, or is there going to be enough other endearing things that will offset it? And even only a very short way into the game, there's already enough other endearing things that I think I will be okay.
So I haven't finished the game, and I'm not even close. And like this game has emotionally moved me already. Good job, Prompto. Damn it.
Yeah, I think I know what scene you're talking about.
You gave me some feels.
Well, I'm honestly not far enough into the game to have seen that.
I'm definitely not far enough into the game to have seen that.
It's okay, so tips for players. Rest at inns. Rest often. Make your party members' favorite meals because they talk to you. and wow, they've got a lot to say.
See, I've not actually gotten the actual during rest vignette. I've gotten the as soon as we wake up, everybody's chatting with each other, and there's little things that are said during that.
Yeah, no, these are like scenes.
Yeah, periodically you will like go to bed and you will have one character like single you out and like, hey, let's go do something. And like you can decide whether you want to go do something or whether you want to talk with them or what. Like the first one of these that I think everyone should experience is Ignis being like, hey, why don't you help me cook?
Nope.
I have not experienced that.
I have not seen
Really?
that. Nope. But
I got a first one, but it wasn't that one.
Yeah,
Huh.
I had
At
Gladio running on the beach.
Yes,
yep,
I've had
I had
that.
Gladio running on the beach. Huh.
But they seem to be location tied,
Yeah.
and character tied.
Yep.
And it makes me want to just.
It's got to be triggered off of other stuff too, because like I have totally stayed in that trailer at the beach and not gotten anything.
It's not the trailer.
It's not the trailer. It's the camp.
The
It's the camp.
There's a camp?
Just
Yep.
off,
Yep.
yeah, a little further ways up the beach. There's a camp.
Okay. I'm trying to go around and stay at every campsite before I move on.
It's also something else has to happen. Like I'm pretty sure the one that Tam is talking about is I stayed at the waypoint between Hammerhead and Gowden Quay.
The motel.
Yeah, the motel.
Yeah.
The second time I stayed there, Prompto and I had Prompto and Noctis had a conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've stayed there once. Can I tell you how much I love that motel? Simply
Go
because, like, I have stayed in that motel. Like, I have absolutely stayed in that motel. It is so emblematic of a Route 66 hotel. Like, they captured it so perfectly.
So there's a point in the quest where it's like, all right, so the next main story quest is like, we need to go to the next city over, and you're in this little rest stop, and Prompto's like, oh my gosh, they have chocobos. Can we stop and see the chocobos? And that is the road trip for me. It's like, all right, we're trying to get here, but this person wants to go off and detour and go see this other side attraction, this tiny little piece of Americana. And so, yeah, all right, we're going to go do this. And then Ignis is like, did you realize that we're nearby this ancient artifact? Wouldn't it be cool for us to go see? Okay, Ignis, we'll go see that.
Look, okay, so
3 weeks later, you might actually get where you were going, but it
Like,
doesn't matter.
that was my childhood. Like, seriously, this was my childhood. Like, we went on road trips to places with my cousins, and, like, there's this giant earth mover up in Kansas called Big Brutus, and we made this long trip to go see it. And there was, like, another mine that, you know, you could go down in, and, like, so we made a trip to go see that. Like, there's this huge round barn in Arcadia, Oklahoma, and we made a trip to go see that. So, like, there's just so much about this game that represents a chunk of my childhood. Like, we went in the car to go to places because, like, you know, we didn't have a lot of money and road tripping was relatively cheap. So we would go up to this really cool, you know, pretty intimate, you know, zoo up in, I want to say it was Independence, Kansas, that had these adorable brown bears. And yeah, like, this game already has me hooked on that aspect.
I love how much personality there is in the, like, side skills. Like, Noctis really likes to fish. Like...
It was so charming and surprising when that happened. Like, I knew that fishing was his skill, but I hadn't gotten to the point where he could fish yet. And when I did, it was just so fun that he was so excited that he finally got to go fishing.
Yep. I feel like the big like I like Noctis as a character moment was with the cat. Because
yes,
he looks like every surly, brooding, silent Final Fantasy hero.
I feel like he talks a lot more than most previous Final Fantasy heroes.
He does, but up until I ran into the cat, he was still saying the kinds of stuff I expect from the surly, brooding teenage Final Fantasy hero. And then he just goes all to pieces over this cat. Like, just like babbling, cheery, happy, like, hey, I want to feed this cat. I'm gonna go fishing so I can feed this cat. Like, and really what it is he's just like kind of shy and awkward. And it's not that he's like surly or brooding. He's just bad at talking to people.
Well, I mean, and boy, he has a lot on his shoulders and doesn't really know how to deal with that.
And his friends also give him, like friends do, give him constant crap about some of the things that he has to do, or the way that he responds to the fact that he's going off to get married.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, watching Kingsglaive really helped my enjoyment of this game.
Yes. I may be speaking for him here, but I'm pretty sure that Kodra was not going to buy this game until we watched Kingsglaive, and then he went out and bought it, like, the next day.
I did.
See,
Kingsglaive
like,
was great.
Kingsglaive is essentially a 2-hour intro to the game. Like, like it could have been an intro movie that you had to wade through to get to the game.
So I have to say, this was my joke, is like there was somewhere a Square producer who was talking to like the studio head and is like, okay, we figured it out. We've got our cutscene down to 90 minutes to introduce this game with. And the studio head was like, no, that's not okay. Like, we'll make it a movie and we'll ship it with the digital deluxe game.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing a 90-minute cutscene to introduce this game.
It also means that when you do actually pick up the game, you're like in and playing in like 2 minutes.
That was so huge to me, though. Like,
weird.
I loved the fact that they took all of that tutorial shit and put it in as a totally optional thing. Like, I still spent 30 minutes going through the tutorial room, but it felt like it was by my own choice. I wasn't forced to do tutorial. Like, so if basically at the point I felt comfortable enough to sit into the game, I could back out. Like, there was nothing that I had really committed to doing. I could just pop in and out as I wanted to learn new things.
This button attacks, this button dodges, this button warp strikes.
Right, exactly. Like, I basically went through the magic part. Like, when it first introduced spellcasting. And at that point, I felt like, oh, yeah, I've got enough of a grasp on this game that I could go play it now. And I was really happy to do so. And I was even happier when it just put me straight in the game. Like you're seconds away from pushing a car.
I love that intro.
It was an amazing intro.
I actually sat down, and grabbed food, expecting to have to sit through an opening cutscene, and was surprised.
Right. I expected the traditional Final Fantasy intro. Like, I commented this on Twitter. Like, it takes longer to get into Final Fantasy V than it takes to get into Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, because that takes like 15 minutes.
Right, yeah. Like, there's all this shit that you have to wade through. And that's a 16-bit game.
Yeah.
That's really pre-FMV intro.
And but I do love we're pushing our car down this highway and Stand By Me comes on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, it was amazing. It was the intro is so good because it tells you everything you need to get started. Like, you're on a road trip with your buddies and your car breaks down. You know where you're at.
Well, and the sound of it is...
Doesn't really matter. Your car's broken down. You gotta fix it.
Doesn't really say why, but the game does sort of try to fill you in on why later.
Yeah.
Although if you watch Kingsglaive, you know exactly why.
So I still have not watched Kingsglaive, but I have watched about half of the, was it Brotherhood shorts?
Yeah.
Anime. Yeah, and I was really glad that I had done that because it sort of gave a little bit of backstory on each of the members of the boy band. And so when I got dumped into the game with no prologue, I already kind of at least didn't hate these characters. Like, I knew a little bit about them. Well, because, I mean, come on, like, some of them initially might be kind of grating or not great, right?
I did not expect to like Ignis in any way.
No, but I do. Like, he's the weird dad of the group.
Ignis was probably initially one of my favorites. I thought Prompto was. I don't like the Yosuke characters.
I was
I thought
not
Prompto
prepared to like Noct. I was not prepared to like Prompto. I mean, okay, at some point in this podcast, we are going to have to sit down and do the traditional, all right, which member of the boy band is your favorite thing, right? So let's maybe get this out of the way too at this point, wherever we are in the game. I mean, like, you have to have a favorite, and right, like, my initial favorite was Ignis because, of course, like, he's sort of fairly reserved and kind of smart or nerdy, and like, he's good. Like, he likes cooking. I don't know.
That dude is a wizard at cooking camp food.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
I want to know how he fries stuff.
So we were talking about this earlier in the day, but like, I am convinced that someone on the team is like an obsessive foodie, because the amount of detail that was put into the system that shows the food.
So this, if you watch a lot of anime that, even anime not necessarily about food, that just has food in it, food is very, very, like, meticulously rendered.
Yes. There's something about Japanese media where they just love to lovingly render their food.
That said, this is taken to a next level because I was like, that looks like a picture of actual food.
Yeah, yes. Like, you can see sauce gently dripping down the side of things,
and not just like, oh, all right, I will pick this off of the menu, and then you see a cutscene where, you know, they, like, Ignis comes out with a plate holding exactly whatever you just had him cook, right? Like,
I made the spam sushi earlier, and that was interesting.
Spam musubi?
Got the recipe for that, and I don't know what to think, really.
Yeah, no, like, I made it because it was really good attack power food.
It's just,
and I was gonna go kill a bunch of dual horns after that.
I do think it's interesting how, like, your sleeping situation, there's not necessarily a right answer. Like,
yeah.
So sometimes you're going to want to spend money and splurge for a hotel because you've done a lot and you're tired. And so you need to rest, and I'm coming up with these in-game thoughts basically, but like, if you've got a lot of experience from the day, you're probably tired and need a better bed. So you rest, and that multiplies your experience. But otherwise, if you just want to get ready for the next day, maybe you should be out, like, camping under the stars, and you'll have a nice campfire cooked meal that gives you tons and tons of attack power to prep for the next day.
Yeah, so, if you're gonna go have a big day, maybe you should have a good meal.
So the weird thing is I kind of treat this game like I treat Minecraft, in that, like, from the moment you wake up, you have a fixed amount of operating time before it starts to get dicey for you to actually be out roaming about. And that's absolutely the same thing with Minecraft. Like, basically, you have a day-night cycle. Day is relatively safe. Night is, you know, pretty not safe.
Night is definitely the other thing.
Yeah. So like, the big thing with campsites is, if I am doing something in an area, it allows me to camp and get back into the action so I have more of the day to explore, if that makes sense. Like Because, like, I totally almost screwed up when I went down into a dungeon and came out on, like, the other side. And it wasn't even a real dungeon. But I came out on the other side, like, 3 miles away from my car. And it was either fight back through, which would have taken forever considering how many goblins I had to kill to get through this little tunnel, or run 3 miles around to my car.
You were going to get Aerowax, weren't you?
No,
You just found the place.
I just found the place.
Weird.
Like I have been exploring like I always do. I am an off the beaten path kind of person. I am still in World 1, and I think I'm like level 15 and a half. And I'm calling World 1. There is an event that happens early on that the game warns you, if you do this, it'll be a while before you can get back to the location you're at.
Yes,
so, like,
like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and like, so Final Fantasy has given us this warning in the past. And sometimes
that's like
it means it.
a 60-minute cutscene, right?
Yeah.
Or sometimes it means, like, you know, literally it is going to be half a game before you get back here.
Well, there's other stuff like FF3, you start in the floating continent. And, well, after a while you weren't on the floating continent anymore.
Right. Like, a lot of times in a Final Fantasy game, that means you're not going to come back here until you get your airship.
Yep.
If even then.
So yeah, like I've been largely doing all the things thinking, oh, I'm not ever going to be able to be back here for a while. Then Tam like told me tonight that it's a 10-minute thing, and then you're back to normal.
Well.
Yeah, I still haven't even gotten to the point where the game has told me this yet, because I've been too busy just running around and like picking peppers and like doing hunts and exploring things.
It does a really good job of messaging. I mean, if you the way it messages when you should move forward in the story is with levels. Because you'll get a bunch of story quests that are like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 20. And when you get that level 21, maybe that's when it's time to go and like that's a good time to go and like wander around for a bit.
I'm basically to that point where, like, I have done all of the early hunts, and now they're all 15 to 25 that are the hunts that are available.
I mean, the main story quest, the orange, the like orange main quest. They all have levels next to them, and you can see like there's seriously a point where it's like, oh, the last one was level 5. I wonder if this one's going to be. Oh, that one's level 21. Okay.
So the Final Fantasy 14 thing.
So I haven't gotten to that yet, but I would be doing A-okay. My current quest is like asking for level 10, and I'm level 27.
Yeah. So we got Grace with Ignis.
I initially was also Ignis, but my answer has changed. I'm now a Prompto fan.
I was originally
one cutscene, isn't it too?
I identify with Prompto.
I originally thought I was going to be all Gladiolus, because Gladiolus is hands down the coolest looking one. And he's the dude that wields the big damn sword, and it's all about me. But
to be clear, I do like Gladio because he's the dude that wields the big damn sword.
So,
but he's also like the least interesting one.
Things. Well, you train with him, and every so often before combat, instead of Ignis, sometimes Gladio will walk over to you and say, "Hey, you think you can do something here? Maybe deal 2,000 damage to these 3 level 2 wolves. Do they have 2,000 health? Yes, barely. Good luck." His challenges seem to be more offensive than Ignis's tactical ones.
Ignis likes to teach you how to do things better. Gladio likes to see you push your limits.
But the thing that won me over about Gladio, because I initially did not like him very much, although the anime thing helped with that some, but it's the fact that when you're driving around in the car, he's the one sitting there reading a book.
Yeah.
That's what won me over about it.
So I said, like, I started off as Gladio, but I have now changed to Prompto, and it's all for a really stupid reason. Prompto won me over the first time he started humming the Final Fantasy victory theme after we killed something. Yep.
It was pretty amazing.
He won me over at that point. And also, like, I love the photos. Like, I love the weird photos that he takes.
He takes some really weird photos.
You haven't gotten to it, but eventually he starts singing, I love to ride on chocobos all day.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
999 to adorables.
I just got to the point where he's able to start taking selfies, and it's just so cute.
I love the fact that, like, so you get filters that you collect, and you can also get additional cameras that do different things and take different, focal widths or focal lengths and things like that. Like, just the detail of that little mini game is insane.
A whole bunch of things like that.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this before we started recording, and like I had put a lot of hours into this game, and but I still haven't gotten very far. And one of the reasons for that is because I lost at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half, when I discovered that this game you can walk up to a pinball machine and start playing pinball. And I played a lot of pinball.
Well, okay, so to call it pinball is a bit like it's this weird part pachinko, part pinball, part shooter, and it's great. Like, I think I lost an hour of time playing it.
Yeah, I definitely lost at least an hour of time playing that mini game. It's just incredibly fun. I mean, I love pinball games anyway. I haven't played one in a million years, but I enjoy them, and I was just completely sold as soon as I realized what was happening.
So you can get this game on your mobile device.
Oh?
Yes.
You should probably not have told me this thing.
They published Justice Monsters 5 as a free-to-play app.
Like, I didn't really enjoy any of the mini games in, like, Final Fantasy VII, but this one just nailed it. Like, this is my version of a mini game. And the thing is like, it fits into the narrative of this world so well, because, like, that's what you see at these little roadside diners, is there's usually a pinball game or a vastly outdated arcade cabinet.
Yeah. Oh, the other little detail. So, right as everybody's about to go to sleep, right? Or, like, as we settle into the trailer or whatever, Prompto challenges Noctis to King's Knight. And Gladio's like, yeah, okay, I'm in. And I thought they were gonna, and like, as you see in so many of these sorts of these sorts of settings, I figured they were gonna sit down and play cards. No. King's Knight is a cell phone game in that world, where they're all sitting around outside the camper on those little, like, white patio chairs, tapping away at their phones.
That's hilarious.
Amazing. Who's your favorite character, Ash?
I said it's Gladio.
Gladio?
So, one thing that I do think, like, Gladio is the strong bodyguard, but he is also, like, the most charismatic character. And that's noted by, like, a couple of people. Like, he is the one who is able to, like...
He's the party face.
He's the party face.
Yeah.
So, weird thing, like, along those lines is, okay, so Prompto makes a big deal about, wondering if Cindy would go for him. Yet one of the photos that Prompto ended up taking was Gladio hanging out close up, like, chair side by side each other with Cindy. So, yeah, like,
he takes so many weird pictures.
Do they have a thing?
No.
I don't think so.
Seems unlikely.
Gladio is just very, very good at ingratiating himself with everyone. Like, he is how you are forging all of your contacts as soon as you show up in a place.
I love the fact that you go to the diner and ask for any interesting attractions, and that's how you find stuff in the world.
Yes. I'm super bad at doing that. Like, I have to go back and actually talk to all those places because I forget that's a thing.
Oh, and even worse, it changes over time.
Yes.
Yep.
That too. Yeah, like, the whole...
I actually had a weird situation recently where I got a quest that gave me a general area to go in, And I happened to be in a diner and talk to the person in the diner. They told me exactly where the thing was.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, they're quite useful, and that was definitely a surprise. I did not expect that to happen.
Yeah, that's really neat.
There are also just a bunch of tiny details that are pretty consistent, like Prompto hates insects.
Yes, and it comes up all the time.
It comes up all the time, but it's like my actual issue with Gladio is like I don't feel like there's a lot of depth to him, and I think there's a lot more depth to the other three characters. And I don't know if that's going to, like, I just need to spend more time with him and let the story develop that.
Yes, it's that thing.
That's what I kind of figured.
There's some incredibly nuanced relationships going on that I'm continually just super impressed with.
So other little detail that I absolutely adore is the fact that you control the radio in the car, and that radio plays music from old Final Fantasy games.
The sheer number of things that it will play is insane, too.
Yes, it's true. It's so surreal, because, like...
Also, not just old Final Fantasy games. Also the soundtracks from Kingsglaive and Brotherhood.
Yes.
Which is maybe a little too meta.
Well, also the FF15 OST you can play in the car.
Yeah, that was a little surprising to me. So it's like, I don't really, I'm not sure I want to know the names of these tracks just yet.
I am currently riding around with Battle at Big Bridge.
It's incredibly weirdly meta. It's especially, like, I actually play a lot of RPG music in my car when I'm driving, and a lot of it is Final Fantasy also, making it especially weird.
I really love combat in the game. Like, that's a thing that I was not expecting, because usually I don't like these hybrid pseudo RP combat things. And I did not think that, like, Lightning Returns did a great job. And, God, what was the game that was a spin-off of the... Can't think of the name of it. It was a spin-off of 7.
Crisis Core?
No.
Dirge of Cerberus.
Dirge of Cerberus, yeah.
Crisis Core did a pretty good job, actually.
I liked Crisis Core. This actually feels like Crisis Core to me.
So, has anyone else managed to take down an Iron Giant yet?
Nope.
Yes.
No.
I've not seen this. So
God, those things are awful.
So, you want some words of encouragement? After you take down the first Iron Giant of the night, any subsequent ones that spawn are red giants, which are level 42.
God, nope.
Don't go out at night.
So what are you saying is, continue running away from Iron Giants. Got it.
Don't go out at night. Oh. The worst part is they spawn in the middle of the road, so don't be driving at night, especially.
Yeah, because
this flat out tells you that.
They'll pop up, and it's not like you can just zoom past them. Like, no, you'll, like, veer off the road and have to jump out of your car.
So do you have to repair your car after that?
Depends on how badly the Iron Giant messes up your car.
I mean, for the most part, like, when you're manually driving, and the only way you can be driving at night is yourself, you will, like, slam on the brakes and, like, get out of the car and be like, all right, now we're gonna go fight this Iron Giant. And, like, me as the player, I'm like, ugh, now I'm gonna go fight an Iron Giant.
That sounds amazing. Let's go fight an Iron Giant.
It's an Iron Giant and something else, and the something else is always different, and sometimes they do teamwork attacks with the Iron Giants. Like, I just had one that had a bunch of spiders, and it was, like, magnetically forming flails with the spiders.
That's awful.
Sounds really awful.
It was real bad.
Sounds both awful and awesome.
Mine just spawned with a flan and was throwing the flan at me.
Yeah. Flan are terrible.
Screw those guys. I just got my first hunt for those, and it was way above my level, and it was a very bad idea.
Night hunts are a thing, and they're usually a bad idea.
I do not like hunts at night.
Nope.
Even just like goblins are way more annoying if you have to do it at night.
Yeah, like my first one was a goblin.
You can go into the mines way before you have any idea what is in them, and you'll get assigned a quest. Clear out the deepest sanctum of the mines. This is a level 50 quest.
Well,
did anyone else get super killed by a Bandersnatch?
I've not found one yet.
I ran away. I've ran away a lot. That was when I discovered that, the way you run away from combat in this game is to run away.
Yes. And frankly, I don't even feel bad. Sometimes I'm just like, nope, not gonna do this fight, I'm out. It will give you partial XP for whatever you did manage to kill when you run away from a fight.
That concept becomes way more important after the cutscene when you start being hunted. Okay, so this is another thing that's very, very important, I think, about this game is most Final Fantasy games, you have the evil empire that you are fighting, and then you have the monsters out in the wilderness. And in almost every other Final Fantasy game, I'm way more afraid of the monsters out in the wilderness. That is not true in this game. I hate...
Depends, are you talking the daytime or the nighttime monsters?
I'm talking the daytime monsters. But the Imperial drop troops are the most... like, when I hear there are Imperial troops inbound, I am running. Because even if you do manage to kill the, 16 guys they send after you, there's
another one inbound.
If you don't vacate the premises in, a minute, there's another one that's going to drop in. And if you get sucked into another battle, as happened to me, they will just drop in right on top of that other battle.
Yeah, if they lose a patrol, they send out somebody to figure out what happened to that patrol right quick.
Well, and that's ultimately what happened to me in episode Disgaea, is I stayed out at night because I didn't know how to camp. And I ended up going through, three Imperial drop troops that kept pulling other shit too, like goblins and flan, and eventually it reached a point where I just could not survive. I had done everything I could, and I died horribly. But I put up a good fight for a long while.
I think the worst encounter I've had has been Iron Giant pops in the road in front of me when I'm desperately trying to get to a rest stop. Have to get pulled over. And so I'm just chilling, waiting for the, from a safe distance, because the Iron Giant is standing next to my car and kind of wandering around. And I know if he wanders around far enough away, I can get in the car and keep driving. And if I go fast enough, it won't matter that he's chasing me because I'm faster than he is. Fine. Then Imperials come. And I'm like, all right, no, this is okay. I'll take out the Imperials because the Iron Giant is going away. This will be fine. Everything's fine. But they were it was one of the mixed groups that was a little bit tougher, and they're faster at night. The patrol timing. So I'm just dropping the last couple of guys, and we've gotten the attention of the Iron Giant right as the second patrol comes in, right on top of my car, and drops a mech. So now it's an Iron Giant, a patrol, a third patrol comes in and drops more troops. So there's 20 Imperial troops and a mech and an Iron Giant all duking it out over my car. At which point I was just like, nope, I'm out. I'm just going to let this play out. We just sat behind some rocks until morning.
So something I feel like I want to talk about is how much of a trap fast travel is, in that it really isn't any faster than normal travel, and you're also going to miss so many things if you're not in the car.
It depends. Eventually you will want to go from a far enough point away that fast travel will make sense. But
Hammerhead is one of those times, personally.
Yeah, if you ever want to return to Hammerhead, that's a 10-minute drive once you get far enough out.
Well, but the thing is I am constantly jumping out of the car because I saw something interesting on the side of the road, and I go off to investigate.
I think those things stop becoming so interesting.
For me, I fast travel when I'm I'm out of gas. I really, really don't want to run out of gas on the road here. By the way, don't run out of gas. Make sure your tank is at least a quarter full all the time. It's really bad to run out of gas.
We need to get a bigger gas tank. It does not get us very far.
So either that car has the worst gas mileage I've ever seen. Just truly appalling gas mileage, which I would believe because it's basically a big armored Cadillac. or it has a gas tank the size of like a hummingbird's bladder. It's one of the two. Because you can get like 8 miles on a tank of gas.
Is there actually a fueling station? Okay, good, there is. I was like, is there a fueling station in this town? Because I'm about to be really sad.
There are fueling stations in most of the outposts. Well, a lot of the outposts. Golden Key has one.
So how has everyone decked out their car?
Metallic green paint with the violet interior.
I went with a two-tone black and white paint job and black and white interior with like gold wheels.
I went for the gunmetal wheels, but otherwise exactly what he said. I think maybe Gorilla DeVille had my car in a previous life or something.
So it's very funny because Tam and I initially picked the exact same cars based on the default options.
Yeah. I'm still rolling around in white body, cranberries and cream interior.
So yeah, I started out with the blue body and a purple interior, metallic purple wheels. But then I remembered that I pre-ordered from Amazon and it came with the Chocobo decals. So now I'm rolling around with the metallic Chocobo decals and gold wheels and like the mustard interior, and it's amazing. So good.
Yeah, I think mine were like the Final Fantasy V characters or something. The PSN pre-order.
It's actually the FF15 cast in sprite
form. Oh, in sprite form. Yeah.
Ah.
It's cute, but no, I'm not going to roll around in it. I would rather have my classy-looking car.
The gold Chocobo is a pretty great decal. Not my thing, but it's a hilariously amazing decal. It also has a tooltip ripped straight out of FF14.
I mean, normally it like wouldn't be my cup of tea, but in this game, it is. Yeah, I love it.
My only complaint about the car paint job system is the decals versus paint job thing. Like, I wish that my two-tone colors, it is only black and white. It will only ever be black and white. I wish it gave me 2 color picks and I could choose any 2 colors. But yeah, that's additional coding that they would have had to have done. I guess one of the things. Go on, Ash.
Sure. One of the things I've actually really liked is that from the demo, there were all of these special attacks that cost MP, and those are basically gone in favor of special attacks you get by pressing a direction and attacking. So I had a lot of fun experimenting with the spear, which allows you to do things like a ridiculous spear charge and the Dragoon jump by pressing either back or forward.
Have you gotten the Link Strike with Gladio?
Yes. Getting launched in the air on a greatsword is amazing.
Yeah, you stand on the flat of Gladio's greatsword, and he just throws you up for a true Dragoon jump.
Well, one of the other options is Ignis's Link Strike with the spear.
Double Dragoons?
Yeah, basically. You just toss him the lance, and he does it too.
Oh, I've gotten the one where he tosses me the lance, and I jump up and stab with both of them.
There's that one too. That's Ignis's one.
He didn't have a spear yet when I had
Oh, yeah, no, I've given him a spear.
So you get a Link Strike that is, you stab something, then he jumps up, you toss him the lance, and he comes down and hands it back to you. It's very extremely formal for the middle of battle, but it's Ignis.
So one of the things that struck me with this game, and I think part of the reason why I like it so much, is this is the first Final Fantasy game that's felt truly modern. There were weird sci-fi elements to Final Fantasy, 7 and several of the other ones, but this one feels like it's almost set in our world.
Yeah, it's low key. It's modern day but low key.
Yeah,
it's modern day with all of the trappings of Final Fantasy.
Right. So instead of seeing cattle along the road, you see dual horns, and it's perfectly normal in this world. And the area that you roam around in first also really reminds me of Thanalan from 14, because you have all these oil wells and stuff.
So I'm curious, are they using I know for Kingsglaive they used a lot of digitizing technology to transfer human faces into digital form, and that's how they like built their character models. I swear they did that with Forrest Whitaker with Taka. Like the cook at Hammerhead. Is it just me? He looks exactly like Forrest Whitaker to me.
I never would have thought that. I don't know, or more so, I didn't think about it.
But it is interesting seeing how far. Like, this is the first game where I've really seen. I feel like the graphics are blowing my mind in a while. Like, this is over the uncanny valley to me in a lot of ways.
That's one of the things I was thinking of when I was watching Kingsglaive. Like, we've come a long way since Spirits Within.
Yeah.
Right?
And at the time, I thought Spirits Within was really damn good. Like, I thought it looked super realistic.
We're still killing Sean Bean.
Yeah.
Look, Sean Bean does one thing really well in movies. He dies.
He's good at being a king who dies.
Look, there's a supercut somewhere on the internet, I've seen it, of all these places where he's died. He's really good at dying.
The other thing that threw me after watching Kingsglaive, though, is one of the characters that shows up looks exactly like the traitor in Kingsglaive. And I was like, wait, are you... I thought that guy died.
Yeah, those guys kind of look alike. They're not the same person.
I'm pretty sure they're not the same person, but it was doing me some concerns.
That guy, though, like, the dude who went traitor and then eventually turned around at the end.
No.
Okay, that guy, I forget which Baldwin brother, but he looks like that Baldwin brother.
No, I'm thinking of the general that betrayed them.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah.
I mean, Kingsglaive spoilers, I guess.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of generals in Kingsglaive, so...
But yeah.
Okay, speaking of characters, can we talk about the character of the Chancellor?
Oh, God.
All right.
Grace, have you
Not
even
much.
met...
No.
Okay.
Okay. We'll have to have that
Sorry.
conversation later. No, it's fine. But yeah.
Like,
that
you
guy.
meet this character, like, I have met him, but the game has given me no indication as to who he is. I only know who he is because of Kingsglaive.
Oh, well then it's possible that I have met him.
Yeah, I have.
Have
I
you
met
been
him in
to-
game and have not been introduced to him in any way.
If you've met somebody who you're instantly suspicious of, you probably know who we're talking
Because
about.
the game is telling me he's a suspicious
I mean,
stranger.
they introduced him as suspicious stranger.
Yes. Look, I'm
Like-
trying to be subtle.
Like, you've been to the beach, right? That beach town.
No, I've met the suspicious stranger.
Okay.
But I haven't
Okay.
done anything with
No,
him.
you can't talk about him yet.
No.
Please don't talk about him yet, sorry.
So, also speaking of characters, because I never got around to mine. So like, moment of real talk, right? This is a game about a bunch of things. It's a game about like friendship through some really shitty times, and it really stands out to me that for the most part, like, Noctis is going through some terrible stuff, and none of his friends have any solutions of any kind, like, because they can't. Like, they don't have the capacity to help in a material way. So really all they can do is be there. And so that's what they do. And like, that really strikes me. I had a conversation with another friend about this game. And her comment was that she found the game kind of she finds the game not to her taste. She doesn't really like it because she feels like it represents a kind of like social space that she was never allowed to be in. Because like the way she put it was that it's like she could hang out with the guys or she could hang out with other women, but there was always like the little tight in-group club that she was never a part of. Like, she never had the group of close friends. And like, my experience is the opposite. I never really, like, I don't like sports or competition or go on down the line of like stereotypical male group things. I'm intensely uncomfortable hanging around your like average group of guys because it's basically just a matter of time before they find out that I don't have any interest in any of the stuff they're talking about. sometimes it's instant if they start talking about like sports or something. And like I also never really fit into groups of women growing up, or just in general, because there's a gap there. And so I've always kind of created these like spaces for myself with just my close friends, and like that's my group, because I don't fit into other groups, so I create my own and populate them with my friends. And like this game feels like my entire life encapsulated in a way, where it's just like, because man, Noct is awkward and not good at talking to people he isn't already close to, and like he's a nice enough guy, but he's just not comfortable outside of his like close in group of friends, and I can relate to that. So like favorite boy band character for me is Noct, because I'm familiar with that one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, especially
growing up the rich kid.
And I identify with Prompto's insecurities, and that's why I love Prompto so much. And I feel like there's a lot of other characters that we've yet to, like, I haven't yet discovered, and I'm really eager to continue playing this game.
So one of the things I want to talk about is the fact that this game works so perfectly over remote play. That it's an action-based game, but it's not so action-based that any frame drop is really going to be a problem, like a Destiny or something like that. And it's allowed me to... I'm in a weird situation where like my PS4 is hooked up upstairs in my office, like where the internet connection's at, and where a lot of times I play consoles and things like that. So that means that if I'm going to play consoles, I'm going to have to be upstairs. And that's not always a viable option. Like, there are times that I should be downstairs. But I've been able to hook a PS4 controller up to my laptop and use the default, Sony Remote Play app, and it works great. I'm only actually technically seeing the game at 720p, but that's not a big deal. Like, it works super great. I mean, I realize I am a weird edge case here, but I have been pleasantly surprised how well it works.
Oh, that was one thing that I discovered accidentally, and I feel like I want to mention it. If you are sprinting and your stamina is about to deplete, if you let up off of the sprint for a second, it will instantly... You dash and it refills all your stamina. And I did not notice a tutorial for that and just found it out myself.
Oh.
Where is the stamina bar?
You have to turn it on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, by default it's not up. You have to turn it on in the configuration.
I should look at that and see what else I don't know.
Oh, and this is a thing that I hope they fix soon. But I'm playing on an older TV right now, and by older, maybe 7 years old. And it's, for some reason, they have projected the game screen off of my screen. So, there is a section of the UI that's just off screen for me.
Do you have your PlayStation configured correctly to the right aspect ratio?
I do.
Weird.
It's apparently a known issue, because I looked online and a number of people are complaining about it. But basically, I can see, for the most part, the ability, the actions I have access to, but I have to sort of guess at what buttons they are, because the button information is all off screen. Also, my MP bar is mostly off screen. So I find out when I'm out of mana when stasis pops over my head.
Oh,
that's
not good.
Over your head when you warp.
Oh, okay.
Realize if you also have the stamina bar there, then, well, yeah. It is really weird, though, having this game that was announced basically 10 years ago finally come out.
Yeah. Final Fantasy XIV released, failed, re-released, and has launched an expansion since
with another
this
one
game
in the
was
wings.
announced.
Notably, this has happened before. Last time the game was utter toilets.
Yes, it's true.
Which game are you thinking of?
Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh, well, there's a third shot next week.
I was about to say, there's a third shot coming up. Let's find out. Is a 10-year development cycle something that generates, on average, good or bad games.
Well,
I think The Last Guardian is only been 8 years or something like that.
Maybe this is a good point to segue out of Final Fantasy 14 or 15. So yeah, like some other stuff happened since we last podcasted. Namely, well, this isn't like even really that big of a news. It's just, it seems like every month there is an occasion for things to be announced.
Well, and the Game Awards happened. I don't think anybody cares who actually won. People just care about what was announced.
Right, exactly. Nobody gave a shit about any of the awards. Like the fact that they gave
Overwatch, though.
I know That Dragon Cancer guy gave an amazing speech.
He
That's
did.
The only thing I know.
And like, I am kind of proud that he won over other titles because that game is. I feel like that game is super important for the genre.
That game is too powerful for me to handle.
I watched part of a playthrough, and given how many family members that I have lost to cancer, I don't think I can handle any more of it. Nope. It was a little too real. Which is weird given the artistic treatment of the game. Like, it is very much not a realistic looking game, but there's a certain realism to it. It's kind of undeniable. Yeah.
You don't need a realistic art style to portray very real emotions.
Yeah. It is a very expressive game.
Which I feel like is the lesson of art dating back to as long as art has existed.
Right. But, I don't know, like, a lot of things have been announced, and so Death Stranding was already announced, but we got, more trailery bits, and there's a weird thing going on between this trailer that features, like, Guillermo del Toro and the previous one that had Norman Reedus in it. And, like, there's a point in the trailers where... So the original trailer is this weird thing where mostly naked Norman Reedus has this baby that's way too small for him. Like, it doesn't look like a human baby. I mean, it does technically, but it's, like, tiny, like, super tiny. So it might be just a preemie. And he's carrying it around on this beach where all these things have died and like oily mess. And then there's this point in that trailer where the baby just disappears and he starts kind of freaking out. So the new trailer shows Guillermo del Toro walking through this post-apocalyptic city where you see like this warscape and all of this army that's like half zombie, half skeletal, part black ooze from X-Files, and you see like this tank rolling through the streets that's like all Cthulhuoid with like tentacles and shit on it. And there's this point at which he's carrying this little tank with him, and he does something to the tank, and then all of a sudden this baby shows up in it. And apparently if you're playing both of these trailers together, the moment at which it disappears from Norman Reedus's arms, it shows up in Del Toro's tank. So it's really weird.
So I have not played any Metal Gear Solid, but from what I understand, this seems perfectly in keeping with a Kojima unchained by any other form of oversight.
I think this game is going to be like a weird mix of things that will speak to Metal Gear Solid players and things that will speak to Silent Hill players and a bunch of other craziness in between.
Man, I have a searing, bitter rant about Hideo Kojima that is just like waiting in the wings. I think that it is the height of writing laziness to exploit the fact that human beings are really, really good at ginning up patterns out of seemingly unconnected things and throwing together unexplained random crap and then nodding and winking with these like bizarre little coincidences that you've made yourself to let people guess at what's actually going on rather than, being a good writer.
I strongly disagree with that last part you said. I don't think, first of all, I'm not the biggest fan of that style, but I don't think it's great to dismiss it entirely because, people do like it.
I think that it can be done well, and I think it has been done well. I actually think that some of the Metal Gear Solid games in fact do it really well. But there's a huge gap between when it's done well and when it's done poorly. And I don't think Kojima is regularly on the good side of that gap.
See, I've never been a fan of the Metal Gear Solid games, but man, do I love Silent Hill.
Silent Hill as of when?
I don't know. Like, I was a huge fan of the first two. I've played some of the others, and I thought they were cool. I mean, they got weirder.
I don't think I've heard of anyone who's a fan of 1 past 4, I think.
There are so many of the games, though, so... I mean, this definitely feels like a game I'm going to play at some point, just because it's so weird. My only concern is, like, it feels like they're leaning too heavily on the star power of Norman Reedus and Guillermo del Toro and Mads Mikkelsen. Like, this is starting to feel less like a video game and more like a movie, if that makes sense. Because, like, if your character design is basically this person and not, like, a character.
Costume design can fill in the gaps, although in this case it does not appear to be.
Right, I was about to say, like, we are currently playing a game where I'm pretty sure a lot of these characters have been, like, mocapped in. And not just mocapped, but, like, if you watch the Kingsglaive credits, most of the characters have 2 or 3 credited actors.
Oh yeah, I thought this was awesome, by the way. Like, super, super, super awesome.
They have the voice actor, they have the mocap actor, and then they have the, like, digital face. Like, this is whose, like, digital body we have transferred into our movie. Like, whose physical body we have, like, captured and are using as the base for all of these characters.
And I think the thing is like, in that game, or in that case, and in a lot of games that I've played where they've done this, there is a resemblance to the person. Like, you can point out who it is, but it's also a character in itself. Like, it is a character based on this person. It isn't this person. But, and, like, with Death Stranding so far, like, this is 100% just these people. Like,
well, wait a second, because Norman Reedus is an actor. Like, he is acting in this game. Like, you know Norman Reedus because you have watched him act in other things.
Right.
But you have watched him portray various characters, and his characters are not all the same.
I don't know, like, it's this... Okay, so, once again, I think this is that weird uncanny valley thing where, like, maybe it's just that I'm not used to people being themselves, being other people in a video game form yet. Like, I'm not used to having something represented in a video game that you can 100% place in the real world. Like, it is exactly like the real world version. I don't know if that makes sense at all. Like, I'm used to, this is an original character, and we based it on the appearance of this character, but, like, even standing them side by side, there are differences.
Yeah, whereas now you can be like, no, you can't actually tell the difference between the photograph and the render.
No, because, like, this is a digital representation of this person. Exactly. Like, even the walks and the movements are like, nope, that's this person. So maybe we've just gotten to that point where, like, digital acting is really a thing. Like, and it always, like, okay, so with the Kingsglaive thing, you know, they're representing how difficult it is. Like, so you have the face, the voice, the movement. And that's 3 people basically puppeteering this one person. And now this seems like this is a one person thing. They are this person.
I feel like what it is more is being better about giving credit. Because I think that in like a more traditional live action movie, the face voice mocap would be like actor, their personal costumer, and their like mannerisms voice trainer. Like the people responsible for bringing that to life. Mm. Like, part of why I was really excited to see the Kingsglaive credits laid out that way is because it was giving credit to a bunch of people who don't normally get credit in these kinds of films.
Yeah.
Or at least not top billing. They're somewhere in the back of the credits.
Yeah. Where it was like, no, it was straight up. It went straight from voice, face, mocap straight into digital artists.
Well, and they had it broken out for each individual main character. And like some of the characters had their mocap and digital face were the same. But for most of like the heavy lifters in that movie, it was 3 different people.
And I think maybe the difference is that we are leaving the era of where you're basically puppeteering to literally there's going to be digital actors. Like, this is a digital representation of me in this game, and I am playing this character instead of like the Gollum puppeteering of a character.
Kingsglaive is worth a watch, if only because it was the first animated film where I felt myself getting tricked into thinking it was real life. Like, there were points where I was like, oh, I thought that was live action, and it's not.
So, another big thing that was shown off at the Game Awards was probably the most comprehensive footage that we've seen of Andromeda, the new Mass Effect game. And it looks really cool. Yeah, still no release date. It looks really cool. It looks like it's probably going to be right down my alley, since my favorite part of Mass Effect was the points when you were pretending to be a Star Trek away team. But it also kind of feels like maybe they're biting off more than they can chew.
I mean, it's BioWare.
Well, it's BioWare, but there is definitely the way they are talking about their universe is very much the same way that Hello Games was talking about their universe. That there's all these planets and everyone's fully fleshed out and it's got story elements on every one. And
so, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from, but one of those is an indie studio and the other one has billions of EA dollars backing it up. I mean, probably not billions, let's be fair, but...
Yeah.
I was about to say, I don't think billions is right, but yeah.
But hundreds of millions, certainly.
I mean, I will be pleasantly surprised if they can back up the things they're talking about.
I don't know. I'm just looking forward to seeing what they do with the multiplayer this time.
Yeah, I'm into it. I've sort of hit the point with Andromeda where I've seen enough to know that I'm just going to buy it, so I'm not going to look at any more stuff.
I was going to buy it before I saw anything. I mean... Come on, be fair. It's Mass Effect. But honestly, it's like, I don't know, like, it sounds amazingly cool. And it sounds like they have a great idea for a universe after Shepard.
Or set far enough away that it doesn't matter.
Right.
Really the difference there.
Well, it's the whole Knights of the Old Republic thing, you know. It is set in a universe that is distant enough from the universe that we already know that we can do anything now, like, without it really affecting anything else.
So, what is the premise? Is it set in the same galaxy still?
Set an arc ship to the Andromeda Galaxy.
Oh, okay. So, different galaxy.
Yep.
Got it. So, it's set in a world where we haven't dealt with Reapers.
Correct.
Well, it's post-Reapers.
Also that.
Maybe by the time they get there, yeah.
But they don't know about Reapers.
Basically,
I mean,
yes.
They might know about them.
We don't know if they know about them or
not.
not.
We don't know anything about that.
But this is basically an expeditionary mission to make friends with a bunch of people that we haven't seen yet, a bunch of races that we've not encountered.
Although, arc ship, they took more than just humans, so...
Right.
Also all the races we have encountered.
Right, and there's like a female Turian on your board, your crew, and... I don't know, like, they haven't shown that many different characters. But, like, there's a Turian, a Krogan, at least in Asari that I've seen. I'm really hoping for a Hanar. Please give me a Hanar officer.
That's not gonna happen.
Please!
I want something where they can show a face.
Super impressed about Shovel Knight. I mean, it looks like more of the same.
That was surprising, actually.
Is that a new Shovel Knight game altogether?
No. Well, yes and no. They, promised campaigns for Spectre Knight, Reaper Knight, and Plague, or what was it?
Plague Doctor
Knight,
or whatever.
Plague Knight and King Knight. And the Plague Knight campaign came out a while ago.
Yup.
It's basically the same game, parallel with the Shovel Knight campaign.
Yup.
But this one they're setting, like, it's still similar, but they are setting it up as like a prequel. So it's not concurrent with Shovel Knight's campaign. but it's still part of, the Shovel Knight bag that you already bought. Actually, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they sold this to people who, weren't in the Kickstarter. But either way, I'll probably buy it. But they promised these 3 campaigns, so they seem to be developing these 3 campaigns. The part that surprised me is that they seem to have redone level layouts in conjunction with this. Like, Plague Knight uses mostly the same level layouts Shovel Knight does. These look like they're going to be new.
Yeah, and it had like a lot of different gameplay mechanics than we had seen with Shovel Knight. Like this, this
showed off earlier how the Spectre Knight moves, and it's quite different.
As far as PlayStation experience, I have to admit, like, the thing that I am most excited about, well, actually, the 2 things that I'm most excited about are, I think, both remakes, because it sounded like Wipeout was a bit of a remake.
I didn't actually understand anything they said about Wipeout.
No, like, I don't know.
Some tracks and cars. I'm like, yep, it's Wipeout.
Yeah, no, like, I am so down for a modern Wipeout game.
There is one on the PS3.
You know how I'm not really into the Uncharted series? That doesn't mean I don't really like Naughty Dog. And The Last of Us Part 2 is like...
the second to Last of Us.
Yes. That is something that has me very excited. Because The Last of Us was amazing.
Last of Us was really, really good.
The Last of Us was like, there's a game that I cried a bunch at. And like... felt awful at the end and in all of the best possible ways. And I really am looking forward to the story of Ellie this time around.
Did you play the DLC?
I have not played it. I hear I should.
Yes.
I gotta say, Crash Bandicoot also was a big plus from today. I mean, I realize
it's going to teach a whole new generation of gamers why Crash 2 was better than the other ones, but hey,
yes,
whatever.
Yes. Well, and the thing is like, I realize Crash Bandicoot is just an endless runner, and we have had so many endless runners, especially on the mobile platform.
Really, but
yeah, like, I loved Crash Bandicoot. I loved it so much, and really, I loved Crash Bandicoot 2.
2 was a lot better than 1, and I don't think 3 was better than 2.
You know, I think that I only played Crash Bandicoot 1, and I didn't like it, so I didn't play 2.
Oh man, 2 improves on everything. Things just work better. Speaking of Uncharted, though, since Kodra mentioned it, I do think it's really cool that they're continuing the series without Nathan Drake.
I feel like they're learning from the Assassin's Creed model, where like they kind of played that story out, and so they're doing the same thing in different ways, and it's working pretty well for them.
I mean, I haven't played a lot of Uncharted, but like, even in the little bit that I already did, I thought Claudia Black's character was awesome.
I really love the Uncharted series, starting at Uncharted 2.
Naughty Dog developed that series too.
Naughty Dog's really good.
I should give Uncharted 2 a second chance. Uncharted 1 was kind of interminable.
Maybe Naughty Dog just has a problem with the first games in their series.
Probably.
Well, I mean, did you not like Last of Us?
Oh, I was referring to Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, is Crash Bandicoot also Naughty Dog?
Yep.
Oh,
that was the game that I knew Naughty Dog from.
Oh, interesting.
Mostly they're just a dedicated Sony studio.
Yeah.
They're a really good dedicated Sony studio. I think Ash and I were both kind of surprised to see a Marvel vs. Capcom game.
I was extremely surprised, yes. Marvel vs. Capcom was delisted from PSN and various other digital services a while ago, and I assumed that meant there was never going to be another one, because there were contract issues why it was, removed. But I guess they are content to make another one, just not going to use those characters that Fox owns the movie rights to, so Wolverine wasn't in the trailer, and I suspect he won't be in the game.
I pretty much expect that there will be no X-Men characters at all, and, I mean, no Fantastic Four characters, but nobody really wanted Fantastic Four characters.
There was one Fantastic Four character that people wanted.
Well, the Thing.
Doom. No, it's Dr. Doom.
I would have played the Thing, but...
Doom's been in it since at least 2.
Yeah. But there's a whole slew of Marvel characters that are equally cool that they can draw upon.
So, I'm confused again, because how does Sony have their licensing rights so screwed up?
It's not Sony that has them
Marvel
screwed up.
has their licensing rights screwed up.
Okay, so
Remember, a whole bunch of people have different licenses to make movies from Marvel characters.
Yeah, I understand that. Does that also include video games?
Yes.
It's all...
And those video game licenses are separate from the movie licenses as well.
And here's the final bit. Disney is playing ball with Sony to make a Marvel versus Capcom?
Playing ball with Capcom, at least.
Okay.
Disney is playing ball with Square for a Sony exclusive, RPG, so... I don't think that
there is a good relationship between Sony and Disney.
Yeah,
isn't there?
I mean,
Kingdom Hearts is still the weirdest thing. I mean, it's been around. I don't know how that
concept got greenlit.
Yeah,
but I think it's amazing.
It's amazing.
I don't know where it came from, but I don't care because
I
love it.
I don't know what I would love to hear some of the stories behind the development of that one. It's on the list of, I don't know why you exist, but I'm really glad you do.
It's especially interesting because Disney has been trying to make their digital, their video game space happen for a while, and they always do it with their flagship. I guess that's the thing, right? If you think about it,
Interactive has been a thing for a very long time.
Yeah, Disney Interactive has been a thing. If you think about it, while their mascot is Mickey, he's not really their flagship. He's not their big earner. He's not the thing they have to protect as much.
No, he's their brand.
Yeah,
which means they protect him brutally. Which
in Kingdom Hearts,
rarely
they were only allowed to use Mickey for one scene, and therefore he only appears in the ending.
Yeah,
because Kingdom Hearts was actually good. They let him be shown a lot more in Kingdom Hearts 2.
The nightmare of every game developer, the one of the nightmare characters to work with for any game developer is Mickey Mouse. Every single game, especially when starring Mickey Mouse, is just a nightmare. Some of the most insane IP related horror stories out of the games industry come out of Mickey Mouse games.
I feel like if there is one company you don't want to mess with the IP lures for, it's definitely Disney. Although I have to say Nintendo is probably right behind them.
Yeah. I have to say, aren't the IP laws in place because of Disney?
A lot of them.
So, I feel like
copyright is a large part because of Disney.
I feel like Disney does a far better job of managing IP conflicts than Nintendo does. Because Nintendo tends to take very self-destructive stances on things, like not allowing people to stream their games.
Disney's gotten a lot better about it. They're still pretty draconian, but I just hope that for so long, Disney has wanted to break into the interactive market, but not actually want to spend the money required to do so. And so they just Disney Interactive has had these string of flawed games, and I'm pretty sure Disney Interactive also doesn't exist anymore.
They don't exist anymore.
And so I'm kind of hoping that Disney licenses game development out to people who can do really cool stuff with it.
Well, the sad thing is there was a string during the Genesis era of really amazing Disney games.
Like the Lion Kings, the Toy Stories, the Aladdins.
I don't give a shit about Lion King or Aladdin, but I played the hell out of those games because they were really good games.
They were really good.
Really
good.
They were super good on their own. You could have made them about anything with those mechanics and they would have worked great because they were just so well done. And then there was a string of horrible Disney games.
I think that what's
the PS1 era.
Yeah, right. I think that story is explained by someone lucked upon a magically great game engine, because all of those games you just cited were built off the same engine with different art swapped in.
Toy Story wasn't, but
Toy Story
was also later. But I think I don't know if Lion King was developed by them, but the Aladdin game was basically developed by Capcom, who definitely had some experience, shall we say, in developing 2D platformers at that point.
Yep. And Capcom absolutely recycles engines.
Everyone does. It's how you get actually useful work done.
Didn't Capcom also do Mickey's Castle of Illusion?
Yep.
Well, Capcom already had a really good relationship with Disney because they had DuckTales and all those Nintendo era games.
Which were also actually kind of entertaining.
I love DuckTales. That was an amazing game.
I played that game before I knew anything about DuckTales. Like, that was my introduction to DuckTales as a thing. Man, that was confusing.
Why is this old man bouncing on a cane?
I mean, why is this old man a duck, first of all? Then we can go on to the why is he bouncing around in his cane. Like, bouncing around in his cane was kind of de rigueur there, because I played a bunch of Commander Keen growing up. And, like, hopping around on a pogo stick was just sort of what was done in video games at the time. So, like, that actually was less weird than why am I running around as a duck in a suit?
So this is an offshoot of an earlier episode's discussion, but, like, I have really mixed feelings about HD remakes. In some aspects, like, when there's only been a generation between, there's really not much to remake. But I like the fact that, like, Parappa the Rapper is, getting remade and is now going to be a viable game. Because, like, a lot of those early PS1 games really aren't that enjoyable to play. Just from the simple fact that it is hard to play them in the graphical state they are versus what we're used to. Like, early 3D games do not hold up very well.
So, from what I understand, the HD remaking older games that are well beloved is very, very, like, you're basically rebuilding the whole game in a lot of the cases. Like, that's a ton of work.
Right.
But it's actually not a lot of work to, like, HD remaster games from one generation back, which is why a lot of that is happening.
Unless they were on the PS3.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But I like the fact that some of these older games are getting rebuilt, to make a better term there, because, like, a lot of these games are dead to a generation that didn't grow up with them. Like, they're never going to get
game in a while. And there hasn't been a good one since 3.
People aren't going to reach back and play Crash Bandicoot unless they're super die-hard about it. But those were really good games. Like, there's still a lot of life left in those games, pending they're true to the original source material. And, like, they play, well, they're going to play better, hopefully, but given the console generation. But, I mean, another prime example was porting Mario 64 to the 3DS. Like, that game totally works on the 3DS. Or, Link to, or the
Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
I just had a terrible thought.
Oh?
What do you think the chances are that the Final Fantasy VII remaster becomes the Final Fantasy 16?
Oh, God.
0.
0.
No, they won't do it. They have a lot of very weird stuff going on with, like, numbering of Final Fantasy games, which is how you, like, there's some weird, like, stuff they have to adhere to for some reason, which is why you get weird stuff like 10-2. It's like why some of the most beloved games in the series have these, like, offshoot mini spin-off series that aren't just a new Final Fantasy game. But, like, one of the strictures is apparently that a new numbered Final Fantasy has to take place in a new setting.
I feel like that's only mostly true, because 12 took place in an established setting.
But it wasn't an established numbered setting.
It's true.
Yeah, it's got to be...
It wasn't used in a numbered entry until it was used for 12.
Yeah, it's got to be a new setting a setting that isn't in one of the previous numbered settings.
Which is one of the things I think is actually really interesting about the Versus 13 thing, is that they seem to have changed the concept a bit since it was Versus 13, so that they could make it 15.
You mean because it didn't make any sense when it was called Versus 13? Or...
Well, that part I'm just leaving aside entirely. We're not going to talk about Square Enix names.
Yeah.
We could, but we'd be here for the entire rest of the night.
Then, yeah.
We could also talk about Capcom names in the same...
Well, we talk about the Square Enix names, and, we're gonna have to talk about, well, never mind. I don't want to get into Kingdom Hearts.
Probably just as well.
Yeah.
Marvel vs. Capcom isn't Marvel vs. Capcom 4.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway.
And it took a decade for Capcom to count to 3.
You bringing up the Final Fantasy VII remake, it's really interesting to me kind of following what's going on, like following older, once beloved, but has fallen on hard times IPs. Like, I once beloved IPs with brand image problems, because it like Final Fantasy 15 feels and the Final Fantasy 7 remake feel a lot like the stuff that's happening with Star Wars recently to me.
Yeah.
This kind of like, we have this brand and we need to resurrect it, and a big part of it is convincing people that we can still deliver on what they expect from us.
What I find interesting is, like, I'm seeing two distinct threads in my world on this topic, and one of which is from the super dedicated retro gaming community, and they are not a fan of this. They like, for the most part, would rather see new IPs, and because, you know, they have all these consoles to play all these games on, you know, so they can play it anytime they want to. And then there's everyone else that remembers games fondly and wouldn't mind playing, you know, Crash Bandicoot on a modern platform, or seeing whatever game they were super into, you know, reimagined for modern hardware. And, like, I think that's two vastly different communities that want different things out of their games. And I think mostly I'm on board with it. Like, I think it's cool. Like, even if the Wipeout game ends up being a remastered, I would love to have a Wipeout game on my PS4, so I don't have to boot up my PS3.
In that particular case, well, they didn't say anything about it. It probably is just the PS4 version of Fury and its expansion.
Probably. Well, it was named Fury something.
Develop that anymore. Studio Liverpool doesn't really exist. I don't know. I am, generally speaking, the effort to develop a new IP versus the effort to release an HD remake are not the same.
Yeah.
So I don't see any problem with. I don't think all of these remakes mean that we can't have new IPs.
Right.
Although I will say I did not, under any circumstances, expect them to announce Knack 2.
I don't get that one at all. Like, I feel like they may be overcommitted to that franchise, since it wasn't really that popular.
Wasn't that popular? I haven't played it.
No, I kept expecting them to give it to us on PS Plus, and I'd play it then.
Put out a new trailer for Persona 5, but again, the game is out in Japan.
I'm hoping that I can afford the collector's edition when it comes out, because that soundtrack, I know I'm going to want the soundtrack. I'm not even going to beat around the bush this time. Like, nope, I'm just going to want that soundtrack.
That's a whole other point. I wish more companies would just sell soundtracks by themselves, because, yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing I often want.
Man, I remember when that was a big thing. I had, like, the Final Fantasy VIII soundtrack on 4 CDs that had, like, every track in the game, including some that I didn't even recognize.
Yeah, and you used to have to import them for the most part. Like, I have an import copy of the Castlevania Symphony of the Night soundtrack and an import copy of, like, one of the Tekken game soundtracks, because it was largely deemed there wasn't an audience here for that.
Well, that was also the case for the FF14 soundtracks at first. The first one you basically had to import.
I have proven them wrong, as have you.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Heaven's Ward soundtrack, I didn't have to, order from their website. They had it at PAX. People want it now.
So at this point, I think I'm going to make the executive decision that we probably shouldn't start down the path of Pokemon Sun and Moon at this hour.
Sounds good.
However, we probably have enough time to discuss Moebius Final Fantasy that Tam was wanting to talk about.
And mostly just a quick thing. So I've been playing a lot of this game. There's been a bunch of mobile Final Fantasy games that follow. It started with Record Keeper, I want to say. And then,
the first one to come out here was All the Bravest.
Sure, but everyone hated that one.
Yes,
as I recall. There was All the Bravest that everybody hated. Then there was Record Keeper, which I am given to understand a lot of people liked.
That's good. That's really good.
I didn't really play very much of it. And then there's Exvius. There's FF Exvius, which
is also good.
Is also good. It's basically just Relic Keeper with a story.
Record Keeper, yeah.
It's functionally the same kind of mechanic. You collect characters from previous games that you summon to fight alongside you, kind of deal.
Yeah, and it's got slightly higher fidelity on the characters. Yeah. It's not as...
Record Keeper's battle system is closer to normal Final Fantasy games, and this one's a little different. But also, yeah, it's similar.
Yeah.
The same type of game.
And I never, for some reason, I never really got into it. Like, I play Final Fantasy games for the, like, self-contained settings and characters, so the kind of, and I have the same kind of issue with Dissidia, like all of the heroes merging into this same world and fighting alongside each other is kind of weird to me. Just not a thing that I really get into. So I didn't really I played a decent amount of Exvius, but not enough to really be excited about it. But I heard a bunch of people talking about the next one, I guess, which is Moebius, which feels a lot more like a bare bones-y, mobile Final Fantasy game. You make your way through this weird world.
The one with the cards, right?
Yeah. And the collectible in that one, because they're all free-to-play games with microtrans. And frankly, Square Enix has not figured out microtrans. Like, I'm going to be completely...
What do you mean by that?
I'm going to be completely straight up. They have no idea how to do pricing in any kind of reasonable way. Like, their prices are enormously inflated for what you're getting, to the point where spending money on those games feels like a sucker bet. But you can play them all relatively reasonably without investing money. So, okay. And one of the reasons that I liked Moebius is that they give you a bunch of stuff. You can use either their currency or these tickets that you can get from quests and treasure and whatnot to summon stuff. And in this case, what you're summoning are cards, which are abilities for you. And also you can summon new jobs because it's like a job system. And it's got this neat structure where you're taking your character and swapping jobs around, and then slotting ability cards into your job and then going out and fighting stuff. And it mostly centers around this, like, your basic attacks generate elemental resources, and you spend those elemental resources to use the ability cards that you've slotted. And various monster types have strengths or weaknesses against particular elements. So it's a sort of like, how do I get the resources I need and then spend the resources I need? Which cards do I want to slot? How do I want to juggle my classes? Because you can choose which class you're going at the start of every level. And so, like, this one's, this class is really good for fighting. I've set up this class to be really good for fighting, single powerful enemies or lots of little enemies or whatever. But it's really neat. I really like, it's just a fun thing to, like, tap away at before I go to bed. I've actually considered dropping a little bit of money on it just because I've had enough fun with it to feel like it's worth it. And it's got a surprisingly high production value, like voiced characters and 3D rendering and whatnot.
Yeah, I only know of this game because of the controversy of them toning down the sexuality of the character when they started porting it for the US market.
The weirdest part about that to me is that that's literally just your starting gear.
But it's the gear that's shown in all the marketing as well.
Yep.
It is the gear that's shown in all the marketing. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, I get it, but like, I've been in a pretty standard black mage and red mage outfit for like the entire time I've been playing. One of those. Square does not seem to be great anymore at the first impressions.
No, they don't really know what to do with their stuff.
To be fair, I don't think, their designs used in marketing have, in a lot of cases, been all over the map. Like, do you remember what the characters for Tactics Advance looked like in the marketing?
No, I don't.
Okay, they look like they crashed into every single rack of a costume shop.
For regular Final Fantasy Tactics?
No, the Tactics Advance games.
Alright, I have this up now. Oh, yeah. No, that's pretty accurate. We just found all of them. All of the costumes. Just gonna wear them at once. It's fine.
I said, like, they crashed into every single rack of a costume shop. And yet in-game, of course, they look nothing like that.
I'm curious enough to try it, but I think it's going to run into the same problem that I have with all mobile games, is that I don't really exist in a state where playing mobile games makes a lot of sense. Because, like, if I'm in a place where I can play games, I am also in a place where I can play on my PC or the PS4 or now the Xbox One, that I just don't really have a niche where, like, unless it is a game like Pokemon where I make an effort to go play it.
Yeah.
There's just not, like, I could play 15 instead of Moebius Final Fantasy. Although, I mean, I guess I could try and play it as a before-bed game.
That's entirely where I play it.
Unfortunately, now that I know that Justice Monsters 5 can be played on my phone, I probably won't be playing anything else on it for quite a while.
Justice Monsters 5 is amazing.
And I love that each of the little things has different moves. Like, the Ahriman has really weird moves.
If you somehow manage to get one without bumpers on the side, though, it's amazing.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's just really hard to target if there's bumpers on the sides.
Yes.
But if you can somehow get it up there, it can wreak havoc on the top tier mobs. Anyway. Well, do we have anything else we want to discuss before we wrap things up?
I don't think so.
I think we're good.
Yep. So, yeah, this turned out to be mostly the Final Fantasy 15 show. Next week, I guess we will bridge the topic of Pokemon Sun and Moon since we haven't really talked about it.
Seems likely. Maybe I'll have beaten it by then.
Maybe I will have gotten further than I actually am. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and I would be curious to know what all of our listeners' thoughts on 15 are if they're playing it as well. I kind of feel like everyone is playing this game.
Yo.
Anyway, that's all. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Good
See
night.
you.
Good night.